Please repeat the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd also like to ask if someone would lead us in an invocation, or if you might have an inspirational thought that you'd like to share.
I will, Mayor.
Thanks, Art.
Dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity to meet as a council. We're thankful for the community we live in, for the citizens that are here, and for their support, especially with the events regarding Sergeant Bill Hooser. We're grateful for America and for the freedoms we enjoy, and we invite that Spirit to be here with us tonight as we meet. And we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Art. Appreciate it. Want to go through the water situation. We've been out of snow at the Snowtell site for about a week and a half now, but we've got high water until Moroni appears. And anybody that wants to check on that, they can come and ask me.
Yeah,
And
so
I'll show them.
Mayor, you want me to take over?
Yeah, go ahead.
So as the mayor indicated, you can see the graph that we've shared throughout the time. This is showing that at least at the 7,800 foot level at the Snowtell site, there is no more water left. There is no more snow. Now, keeping in mind that we have a over 20 square mile basin up there, so it's not, so there's lots of snow up higher. There's lots of still runoff coming through and that kind of thing. But this will help you to understand where we currently stand with snow that's at least at the Snowtell site, which is nothing at this point in time. Now, we may get some spring storms or other things coming along that'll drop an inch or two or a half a foot or whatever, but likely you're not going to see a big difference in anything more coming through. Now, if I go to the stream gauge, so we have a stream gauge at the mouth of the canyon, near the mouth of the canyon, that shows, and this is a little bit hard to see, so let me see if I can zoom out a little bit, but that graph basically shows that over the last couple of weeks, we have been in the 50 to 70, almost 80 cubic feet per second. So a cubic foot per second is 7.5 gallons, 7.5 gallons, 7.5 gallons, 7.5 gallons, times whatever that number is every second. So it's a lot of water. Normal flow for this year is probably closer to a 30 or 40 or 50. This is a little higher than average runoff, but it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's not coming off too fast. We haven't flooded anybody. The irrigation company and the city have been working together to disperse water so that reservoirs can still be full but not overflowing and not flooding anybody. So that's the current situation that we're in. Again, the trend that you're seeing here is going to continue to go down and down. Another week or 2 weeks or a month from now, we'll be at 30 CFS plus or minus, and just continue to go down from there for the water situation. Any questions? I'm happy to answer for you. Mayor, anything to add?
No, we're probably going to be seeing over 32nd feet of water for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would think. And then it will slowly taper off. That will get us back down to a normal high runoff is usually just over 30. So I think we're going to be really good for water through the year. All of our water sources seem to be full. We're still running water to Utah Lake, and our reservoir that the Summit Creek takes care of out west of town is full at this point. So
yep, and full, and again flowing some of this extra water here out to White Lake and to Utah Lake and eventually to Great Salt Lake. So
okay. Let's go over some of the agenda items.
Okay.
And
so if we go to the main packet, happy to discuss any of the budget or other work session or regular session minutes. If you have any questions or concerns on that, thoughts, concerns. Okay.
Well, are there any questions on the consent
agenda
at all?
Yeah.
You want to pull them out, or do you feel good about where we stand? We need to talk about anything?
Okay. Item number 7 will be volunteers of the month. Carl Tiemunt and Scott Wadsworth have been instrumental in helping the mayor and others at our mountain bike park. And Carl Tiemunt and both of them are residents. Carl actually works for Payson City in their Parks and Recreation Department, so he's got quite a bit of knowledge with that and does great and has helped out with everything from, the trails to the kind of division of the frisbee golf or the disc golf course up there and all things going on recreation. So he's really great to have with us. And so Scott, both of them are very willing to work and help with whatever happens to be. We will have 4 public hearings tonight, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing will be on the Budget Amendment number 3. Budget Amendment number 3 will allow us to transfer funds from rainy day funds into the general fund so that we can have a property purchase, which is also on the agenda for tonight. So that budget amendment is specific for this property purchase so that it's very easy to track, very transparent of where the funds are coming from, what's happening with that, okay? The second public hearing, by the way, in the public hearings, there are no materials to present. However, if you so desire, or the public is here and desires, we're happy to pull up tentative budgets that were approved 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, or 3 weeks ago. We can show those because those are the ones that we're working off of. So just procedurally for all of our budgets, we have a tentative budget that has to be passed in the first meeting of May. Then between there and adopting a final budget, we have to have a public hearing. That's tonight. And then the final budget is adopted at a later date. So it's a very transparent, here's what we're looking at tentatively. Here's the public hearing. The public can provide comment. And then final budgets can be adopted after that public comment period. So that's what we will be doing. And again, I'm happy to pull up any of the budgets that you see fit that we need to discuss, the tentative budgets, because that's all that's been passed at this point in time.
So,
and talk
so in
about those.
item number 9, we really don't have to pass anything. It's just a public hearing.
Exactly. In these public hearings, they are just that. They are just public hearings. You will actually enter into a public hearing period, take any comment, and then come back out. Even though it will be, for these 3 items, it will be in the regular meeting. But then in the LBA, the SSD, and the CDRA, we will all enter into those boards and have those same public hearings there. Okay? So public hearing for budget transfer and for budget and transfers for Santaquin City. And then number 10 is a possible compensation increase for municipal officers, executive municipal officers. I do have a statement that I would like to read here, and I will read it again during the public hearing, if that's what you would have me do.
Yeah, go ahead, because I just want to make sure that we have this stated as COLA and go forward.
Yep. So, Mayor and Council, as you are aware, during the 2024 legislative session, the state legislature passed Senate Bill 91, or SB 91 as I refer to it here in the document. One part of SB 91 reads, before a governing body may adopt a final budget or a final amended budget that includes, quote, compensation increases or a compensation increase for an executive municipal officer, the governing body shall, quote, hold a public hearing on the compensation increase. So that is exactly what we're doing. The definition of a compensation increase and the definition of executive municipal officers are defined in the code. Those employees include myself as the city manager, Jason Bond as the assistant city manager, and your 5 functional area directors: finance director, PD, fire, community services, and public works. So those are your 5 functional areas, and those are we are talking about tonight. So a total of seven individuals, what they call executive municipal officers in Santaquin City, are the ones that we're talking about tonight. Oh, sorry, and John Lundell as well. Missed that one. Thanks, Jason. So we will have the public hearing, and therefore we have properly noticed and are holding the required public hearing this evening during City Council meeting. Per Santaquin City's employment handbook, as adopted by resolution and most recently amended on December 12th, 2020, or December 19th, 2024 by resolution 1203-2024, all employees, including elected officials and executive municipal officers, as defined in SB 91, are eligible for salary increases for both cost of living, or COLA, and merit increases, where and when applicable, as adequately budgeted for. And then I give the 2 references where these 2 things are talked about, both COLA and merit. At present, the tentative budget, and as planned, the final budget, however, that's not passed yet. But at present, the tentative budget was approved several weeks ago, included a COLA increase for all employees of 5% starting January of 2025. So our COLAs always start on January 1, and then go through the following year. Also at present, included in the tentative budget is a possible 1% merit increase for all employees. Now I say possible because not everybody will get that 1%, potentially, right? It's based on merit, and it's based on your directors and how they or their staff evaluate their staff. And so a potential of 1%. So the total possible increase for all employees is up to 6% during the fiscal year 24-25 budget. Per employment contracts for all of our executive municipal officers, which are currently all in place and current, each of them is treated the same as any other employee with regard to any offered COLA and possible merit increases. Therefore, that is what has been budgeted for in the 2024-2025 fiscal year Santaquin City budget. Happy to answer any questions that you have about that.
So we have to do this because of that Senate bill
Yes,
that we've never had to do before, just to give a COLA increase.
that's correct.
Beautiful.
I contacted.
Thanks for the help,
Senator and
legislature.
and a rep, and the representative is willing to look at removing this or amending it if we need to. So we're going to meet and work on it possibly.
But we are meeting what we believe to be the intent of the legislation. I've gone through this with Assistant City Manager Bond and also a Finance Director to review this and make sure that what we're budgeting and what we're doing is accurate. Excuse me. I visited with Councilor Rich about this. Council Rich, and while there are some ambiguities in the bill, not unusual that there are ambiguities, we believe that we are meeting the intent of the purpose of the bill at this point in time. So I'll leave that with you, and these will be part of the minutes, and we can have further discussions if or as needed. Again, in this formal public hearing, there is no action needed or required by the council. It's just informing the council and the mayor and the public what's happening.
It just seems redundant, doesn't it? Because we give COLA increases when we can anyway, and your employees, it just seems redundant that this extra step for directors, but I get it. It's nothing we can do. We just have to do it.
That is correct. It is legislation that is upon us now, and something that we just have to live with. But again, I believe that at least one council member and the mayor have already spoken with representatives and senators to hopefully help us to, because you're right, a COLA, it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to give COLA, then it's across the board typically, right? You don't give one person or not the other person a COLA. So
It's already in the budget.
And it's
already has a public hearing.
And the budget has a public hearing. We're going to be doing the budget public hearings tonight too. So somebody got a burr in their saddle about something that some city did, and so therefore here we are. Okay. Resolution 0504, adopting a public safety impact fee. So you remember 3 months ago we updated our public safety impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis to represent higher costs that we know that they are for the fire engine and the new station that will be built. And this just adopts those public safety fees. That's the only thing in this resolution on the fee schedule that will be updated, and I can show that to you right here. There's two numbers basically that will be updated, and they are there before you. So the residential impact fee for fire and EMS will go from $495 to $784, and non-residential impact fee will go from 59 cents a square foot to 90 cents a square foot. That's for commercial, industrial, those types of institutional, schools, churches, commercial buildings, etc. will go up. Okay. Any questions or concerns on that? Okay. Going down, we will go to item number 12, which is Resolution 0505, approval of the mayor signing the $200,000 Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Funding Agreement. This is the 50% that will go towards our bike park up there. You may remember that we approved a contract a while back last year, I believe, at the end of last year, for $351,000 to create that. We've added a pavilion to that to take the total cost of the project up to 200,000, but now we only have to come up with 200 instead of the 351 for us. So this was anticipated in the direction that was given to John Bradley, our community services director at the time. We've got the grant and we're good to go.
Awesome.
So this is just allowing the mayor to sign that. Resolution 0506. Approval of the fiscal year 23-24 budget amendment number 3. Remember, we're holding a public hearing for that up above in item number 9, I think, 8. And this one is just that there's only one item that is being covered under that. It's a transfer from the general fund rainy day reserves to put it into a spot where we can use it to have a property purchase for the other item, the next item that's on the agenda. Questions, concerns? Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of a real property purchase agreement. So this is now public, and we've had negotiations over the last several months with the property owners and the real estate agents and those types of things for this 15 acres that will just on the west side of town on 5th South. Per your approval, this will be purchasing that 15 acres that would be used for a future cemetery. Yes, sir.
I noticed on the first page of the real estate contract, several of the parcel numbers are missing. Is that a problem?
We'll have that corrected on the closing documents. It's just because the way that's a fillable form, it doesn't allow us to do that. But the addendum picks it up, and all the closing documents will have that.
I saw it later in the packet.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's just a quirkiness of the form. I wish it wasn't that way, but here we are.
Okay.
The purchase of that property, like I say, it's about 15 point. The record of survey that will be filed after we've closed will be about 15.37 acres. So it's a little bit more than 15 acres that's been represented on the county parcel maps. The cost for that is $1.3 million even. You'll notice that the budget amendment was for $20,000 more than that so that we can help with closing costs and other related fees that go with the closing of a property. So we don't know what that is at this point in time. I just had our finance director put those funds in there so that we don't have to come back for another budget amendment to close on the property. Happy to answer any questions about that. Okay. Number 15 will be a discussion of possible action on the RAP tax funds allocation. I have a spreadsheet here that I'll pull up, and I can pull it up during the meeting as well. I pinked out or purpled out these site over here so that you can see which ones they are recommending. There were a whole bunch on there, almost $300,000 worth of projects that were proposed or thought of or considered by the RAP tax committee. And I think we had a couple of council members that were at that meeting, or one. Yeah, Brian was there. That's great. So happy to answer any questions that you have on that. I will point out the $70,000 that they're recommending that we set aside. This has to do with that recreation building behind the existing recreation building over by the rodeo grounds. That doesn't mean we're going to go buy the building tomorrow. This just sets the funds aside. We may set another $70,000 aside next year, or we may put other funds with it. All of that stuff is still as yet untold, so that we can try and figure out how to build a building there if that's the direction that the council goes. So again, this is just a recommendation to set the funds aside for that purpose. And it would likely be at least 2 years worth of this amount of funds that would be needed to help with that project. And then we can use impact fees, park impact fees, or other funds available to us as they are available or where they are available to do that project. If you remember, I think the building itself is, I'd have to ask John, I think it was around $400,000, $500,000 total to get us into the building. What I would recommend is, if we're going to go this way, that we immediately start figuring out where we can come up with the other funds to just secure the building, so that we can allay any further future price increases, right? If we order it now and don't have it delivered until next year, at least we can lock in the price, and we don't have a 5 or 10 or 15% steel increase that we're seeing almost year over year.
Yep.
So again, that doesn't do that tonight, but I would recommend that we, if this gets approved and this is where the council wants to set the money aside, that we immediately try to figure out how we can start designing and securing that building so that we can get it coming and get the price locked in on it. Questions on that?
Scroll down through.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I made it really big, but yeah, so you'll see some of them didn't get full funding, like an outdoor volleyball pit went from a $10,000 estimate to a $5,000 request. I'm not sure what that entails. Director Bradley will be here tonight, and he can answer any questions that you have on that. And then cultural arts funded basically at the same level. Mural art funded at the same level. General improvements to the museum. Again, we bought paint and lights and done other improvements at the museum as well. I believe, if I remember correctly, Shannon, we have some money in to help with a fire escape this year on the upper floor of the museum, right?
Not this current year.
But the coming in the future budget.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Norm,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see if it's possible to redirect $6,000 and improve the south exit of the museum for ADA compliance. As much as we're attempting to utilize that building, I think that would be important to have that accomplished.
Again, these are recommendations. We're happy to follow whatever your recommendations are. If you see things on here that you want to pull off and pull towards that, then that's totally your discretion as a council. These are recommendations coming from your staff and from the RAP Tax Committee Board. Several things not getting funded: a VR virtual reality tour of the museum, Santaquin Dowdle puzzle. Always a fun thing to talk about puzzles. That Dowdle puzzle has been very successful for Spanish Fork and Pleasant Grove and other cities in the county, but it's a really big upfront investment. Really big, like $72,000. So anyway, cool puzzles, but not sure that's where, well, I'm sure that's where the RAP Tax Committee has not recommended we go tonight. So again, happy to answer any questions. The anticipated revenue is $140,000. There is a chance, Art, that we may have a more than $140,000, so we may be able to stay right where we're at, and you add that other item should the funds come in. We could certainly do that as the council directs. But right now, what's in the budget is $140,000 is the estimate. Sorry, Mayor.
I'm just thinking, over the past couple of weeks, I've had a lot of messages sent to me, and even some council have sent me other messages about
That's an A.
something that we could consider for
That's
memorial,
A's. They're all A's.
Sergeant Hoosier. And people talked about things that we had no control over, you know, renaming Highway 6 or something, which might be a little difficult, but I would like to maybe consider into this if there's some way to work around it. That there's one group that already have built a bench that has Bill's outline on it. His dates are on there. And it's a very good memorial. I would like to propose that we start talking about a place we could do that. And I just really like the idea of the East Park, the Blue Park up by C.S. Lewis. Get a real name and maybe name it after Sergeant Hoosier. Put a bench up there, put a tree in for him, put a monument if we would like to, but actually have a park named after him. And it's already built. It's just called the East Park. And you know, there are people that want to do things. And had one phone call today from a business that would like to match funds, even if we wanted to do a memorial for him or something along those lines.
So the committee, I think the committee suggested 3,500 for a first responder. I think with that idea, right?
Yeah, and so maybe we want to amend that. Maybe we want to find we could add that in. It's something I think that the council could direct. We could think about, and you know, before we just spend the money that's sitting on there, maybe look at a couple of other places, because there are things that we can do with it. There are those businesses that have contacted us that said, hey, we'll put some more towards this. So I like the idea that it's just sitting here, but I also liked what the company talked with about the benches.
because they sent us a drawing of it, and it's nice, but we need to have a place to put it, and we need to maybe have a real name, a directive. I think it would mean a lot more, but I also feel like rather than do it within the first month, maybe we make this a project and do it over 9 months, a year, whatever, so that we can really pull some ideas together. Maybe we want to have a little committee that comes together, because maybe it's not the East Park, maybe it's Squash Head Park. It finally gets a new name. I don't know. Just something.
Yeah.
I want to honor Bill.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I think we all do.
And this could be the start of a match, right? If you've got a company that can match it, that would be $7,000, right, to start off with if they want to match these $3,500 in funds. And again, this is not like we're going to go out and spend it tomorrow. This could be a set aside until we decide how and where we want to spend it.
Yeah. So maybe for something like that, even though it sits here, do we take it back to the RAP tax committee and say, okay, guys, you've got this much in the program, or do we have a committee that comes into this?
Probably not necessarily. I don't think going back to
Yeah.
the RAP tax committee. The RAP tax committee has just made the recommendations to say, hey, we should put we recommend you put some funds here. I'm not sure taking it back to the RAP tax committee would be, I think this is the committee that needs to decide what happens. And you've all had, I'm sure, lots of folks that have called and texted or emails or whatever that have said, hey, this would be a good idea. Everything from naming roads to parks to other kinds of significant shows of respect and for Bill. So
Well, I think we need to make sure that we have a place, a repository for this money, and maybe it's this group, but we just can't start throwing money
Right.
into a RAP tax fund. We can have it that can match, but it might have to have a separate
Sure.
budget number that we can list it under, and that way we can protect it and watch over it. And
Sure.
maybe we just need to look at this
Sure.
and come up with a way to deal with it.
Can I add something there?
Sure.
Okay. Just a reminder, the RAP tax money is in there from July 1st to the following June 30th. So it definitely doesn't have to be spent right away. And even if you don't spend it that year, it
carries
just
over.
goes back into the fund and carries. So even if you don't do this for 2 years, you can always save that money for a future project.
Similar to the building, like what John presented last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
And we may find that we don't want a park. Maybe we want something else. But I really feel we need some input, and we need to talk about this and get it out. But I think this is worthy of really sticking with.
And the committee, just to clarify, they didn't have anything specific in mind, did they? They just thought it was a good idea to put something toward something like that. The other thing I heard your comment are about the $6,000
For the museum?
Yeah, one option, if you want to pull that back up, Norm, there's 2 items there that could easily be adjusted in the next meeting. There's $4,000 to the museum, and there's $2,500 that was kind of a miscellaneous enhanced special events. We could literally take that money and put it all toward the museum doors if you wanted. Just giving you an option versus having to take it like out of wrestling mats where then you can't order the mats because you're short. That's one that we wouldn't notice the change on that. If you want to consider that next hour, that's one option of pulling those two to get the money.
I would, thank you.
Don't we have a toilet facility that's in the budget? Don't I remember that number in our budget for placement of a toilet in there?
I think when we came to the budget retreat, we threw out some numbers for improving the restrooms at the museum, but it was a lot more money than that. It was like 70,000 or 40,000 or, and that was just high-end estimate. I actually have called many people and haven't had anyone come look at the restrooms. I don't think anyone wants to tackle that. So
you and I need to talk about that.
Okay.
Maybe when we get a minute.
And
we got time tomorrow morning.
We can. Yeah. I will make one more just thought, and I'll go sit down. I think the committees, the reason why they initially didn't support the doors and the ADA access was they were worried about getting people into the building and then not being able to use a restroom or go upstairs. And so they they were a little bit uncomfortable almost setting the standard. But if you can get people in the building, they can still enjoy the ground floor. I mean, they can still enjoy the veteran room and the other rooms. And so I don't think it has to be one or the other. What that $6,000 does is really just replaces that double door on the south side, gives us a little bit of money so we can put pavement with Public Works just leading up to it, so that if someone had a wheelchair, they could just come up from the parking lot. So, okay.
And I'll make a point that I made in the Rap Tax Committee is, echoing what John said, is there's a concern that you're excited to go to the museum only to be left out on the first floor. And there's nothing worse than that disappointment in the moment. And so I was just concerned that maybe someone that couldn't make it up to the second floor, whether that's a kid or a family member, only having a bad experience at the museum, rather than realizing beforehand that the museum isn't accessible to all. Not all of the museum is. And that was one of the reasons in the committee that I had made a comment just of concern of not making it all accessible, but only partially accessible. It almost made it almost like second class for some people to be only on the first floor.
Well, as it stands now, they can't even see the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys are negative Nelly. We'll figure this out.
So just to be clear, the only way to get them to the second floor is with an elevator, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for an elevator.
Right.
So that's more of a challenge than getting them into the first floor. Much
Well,
more of a challenge, but we can certainly
we
address
could build
that.
a ramp. It'd probably start down there on Second South. but-
Let's see, at 0.5% every
From here.
Yeah. Chairs that go up the stairs.
So just so that the public and the council is aware, that's just the situation that we find ourselves in the museum, is that the only way to get ADA access on the second floor is going to be an elevator.
Didn't we have a fire ladder?
A
that
fire
was in
escape
there?
is what
Yeah.
we're looking at doing in the next year's budget, yes, because that was taken down many, many years ago, and right now we don't have a current fire escape in the upper floor. So that's something we're also trying to address. So anything else on the RAP tax recommendations? Okay, great. Moving on, we will need to convene a community development renewal agency for the formal public hearing. And then also a resolution. That resolution is is proposing to extend just one deadline on the purchase agreement with Santaquin Peaks LLC at this point in time, pushing that deadline out 15 days to help them to try and get some more of their funding secured, and also to get essentially a partner or another team on board to help them with that. So it's likely
we have met with
Yeah.
all of those parties.
It's likely
So
that
this
you will
is-
see another resolution or another amendment next time that is not, we're still working out details and that kind of thing on that. But what is addressing tonight is just extending out that second half of the earnest money going hard or being committed 15 days, which gives them till the 6th of June. Happy to answer any questions that you have on that. Again, we'll do the formal public hearing first and then the resolution. Go out of that meeting and back into the regular meeting, and then we will need to convene the local building authority, have the public hearing in there, convene back into council meeting, and then convene into the special service district and have the public hearing in there. And then after reports, there is need for 2 separate executive sessions, one for character, professional competence, and physical and mental health of an individual, and another one for pending litigation. So
My turn to be a negative Nancy. On this, with this group, we're going to push this deadline back another 15 days. Are we just going to meet and do it again?
So that's not the
Or do
plan.
we-
So just so you're aware, and I'll let the mayor
We've
speak.
been pushing this back since November,
Yeah.
if I remember right.
Well,
It's
it's
no,
May
15.
really. Their closing date was
we signed it
in November, but they had
That's when we
180 days.
started.
Okay.
But we did start, and we've made 2 adjustments
Right.
with it. And
Are they gonna
this
be able to get
this
this
is
done?
actually in conjunction with the assignment that will go to the new partners. We've interviewed and met with the new partners and spoken with them even in the last couple of days, making sure that everything was there.
Right.
So they're going to be able to get it what they need done in this next 15 days.
We believe that that's the case. Yes.
Yeah.
We're working with them to do that.
You know,
And I don't have a problem pushing it back, but this will be the third time, and if we need to give them more time, let's just do that now in order to get this done. Or I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up and see.
I had that same concern, and I reached out to Norm. It sounds like they're actually there's progress being made this time, right?
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
You know, there were a lot of things that precipitated the extensions that we needed to do previous to this, and agreed, you know, right up front. It was like, I could hold the hard line, just be done with it. And probably Norm got off of that phone call and said, ooh, geez, that wasn't very fun. And to be honest with you, I made phone calls. I had discussions. Norm and I had some big, long discussions of how the best way to do this. Certainly, we are and have the capability of just cutting some things off anytime we want. You know, even you as a council can do that. However, this is a group that personally, as the mayor, I have worked with for well over 2 years now, and we've gone through a lot of things. And I don't know if it's, as I said earlier to Jeff and to Lynn in the mayor meeting with him, you know, there is a cost of money that's going on right now with inflation that has changed some things. The ability for banks or others to just step in and loan sometimes has become a barrier that they've had to fight around. But they have an outlook on Santaquin that I like, and you know they're working pretty hard at this. We're not hurt because of it, and in fact. We've moved on, and we're not at a point to where we have failed in any portion of this undertaking.
No.
You know, there's no council that I know of that has ever sat in Santaquin City and created an industrial park or anything like it, you know, other than build a sewer system, but have never and found businesses to take an active role and actually paid for it. So we haven't spent any money. We haven't had to pay for curb, gutter, sidewalk, pipes in the ground, roadways. We are funding this, and you know the light in the end of this tunnel is really close, and it's not a train. And I really, in our meeting today, as Norm and I concluded just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, it was, hey, this is cool. Things are moving. And I apologize. I could probably have said, oh, yeah, why don't we just push it out a whole bunch more? But I like to keep them at their word right now. We did move one out, but they have brought in this new partner, and the best thing about it is this partner is somebody else that's already buying into town. So you will see this happen, and you will see these people over the next little while, and we'll talk about it even tonight, later. Okay?
This is
Does that answer
so.
it?
Yeah.
Was I cryptic enough?
Just barely.
How did I do? Am I okay? All right.
Well, I had 2 thoughts when I asked that question. One is if we need to extend it to make it more feasible, let's do that more than 15 days. Or 2, if it's not just going to work, then let's just cut ties and find something different. I just didn't know, that's why I asked.
So if I may,
Fish or cut bait when I first started barking last week, and we came to terms with things.
Okay.
yeah. So we believe that we still have a bird in the hand compared to having to go out and start over again. So we that's the direction that we've been going. We're happy to visit with you about that. As those are pending negotiations, then we can talk about that in executive session. But essentially, we believe that we still have a good course moving forward. The mayor is very confident. I'm very confident that this is going to continue to move forward now.
Okay.
So,
You'll get all the information that you'll need, and we'll move forward. And I think we're in pretty good shape right now. Okay. Good. Okay. We got a few more, 15 more minutes at least.
Can I
Jason?
make a request? We kind of skipped over it on the agenda, but the building permit and business license report, something must have been lost in the shuffle. Maybe it's because we're doing a council meeting on a Wednesday night, but I don't have that ready to report tonight. So if we could skip over that,
What?
I'll give that to
it's
you.
all right, Jason. I'll go ahead and take the agenda tonight. So,
So strike it and go, Jason, night off, huh?
And I wanted to make a comment. Emily, did you get my email? I just sent it this meeting. I noticed that there was just a minor change that I requested in the meeting minutes. Yeah, I just didn't. It worded it kind of like I was taking credit for something John did, and I didn't want. I was like, I did not work on this. This is all John Bradley. So nothing big, but just heads up. Okay, thank you. Let me know if I can clarify what section that is. Yeah.
You know, we're pretty easy over most things, you know. Okay. You want to go on with the special service district?
we've already been through everything. So just the public hearings coming up in all three of those external meetings for the CDRA, the CDA, the local building authority, and the special service district. We'll just have public hearings in there. Again, if the council or mayor wants to see the documents that are already in the approved for tentative budget, or the public, we're happy to pull those up in here.
Those haven't changed, but we still have to have the public hearing in all of those.
Yes.
Just to meet the letter of law.
Yes. Yes.
So anything that needs to be discussed, we can. Hopefully we've got all the answers that we need. You feel pretty comfortable about everything, or is there any questions at all? I really like the way we can move through the consent agenda and right into the business. Makes so the meetings don't have to drag out as long as possible, unless you guys have to hurry off to something, then I'll drag it on. You know, I like where all that is. We know where we need to go. Anything else? Anything you guys can think of? I know there's something.
There's always something.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll do that.
You mentioned that.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from this meeting. So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Travis?
Yes.
Lynn?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Art?
I'll
Ryan?
take it under advisement.
Ryan?
Aye.
Aye.
I was going to leave you in here. Okay.